Welcome back to the On Life podcast. Today, we are talking about a brand new office here at Liberty that has some things that actually apply to you as an online student. They really help us with spiritual development and mentorship, as well as other things. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. Robin, who's our guest today?
Yeah, Pastor Tim Griffin. Thank you for being here today. He is let me make sure I get the title correct, the Executive Director of LU Pastoral Counseling and Care. So you just start us off with just a little bit about you and how you got into this role.
Okay. Thanks for having me, first of all. I've been at Liberty now for 13 years, and I came as a campus pastor 13 years ago.
Okay.
And from there became a department called OSD, which we're currently under, which stands for Office of Spiritual Development. And that office, is campus pastors, and this became the LU Shepherd office.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been a part of the LU Shepherd office from then. I can't remember. I think it's been 9 years now. But from then up until July 1st. And on July 1st, a new office came about, as Brian mentioned, called Pastoral Counseling and Care. And so for those online students who are familiar with what was and what is the LU Shepherd office, you're familiar with the term online shepherds. And so those folks are now online pastoral care coordinators, but they still function in the role of what they were functioning as the online shepherd. But I was actually involved in the local church before coming to Liberty. And God began to impress upon my heart the opportunity to connect with students at a younger age, and just to be able to help them with foundations where they would not make some of the mistakes, that I was making as a middle-aged guy. But from the time I came to Liberty, I've had an opportunity to connect with online students. And of course, we know online students run the gamut from the 20s to the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I've had the opportunities to still connect with some folks in my season of life as well.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. And I can just say, I've worked here 12 years, and Pastor Tim has definitely pastored me as well, just either in the hallway or, getting together with him at times. You're just really just a great addition to the campus, and really thankful you're here. Could you tell us a little bit more about those online pastoral care counselors or coordinators? What do they do? Like what role do they fill here at the university?
So again, those positions came online 2 years ago, fall of 2023. And since that time, we have connected with just over 3,000 unique online students.
Wow.
And so really it's to provide spiritual support, but it's also to provide practical support. The gateway is prayer. What we brand it is as a prayer ministry. And so students are able to reach out, or professors are able to reach out on behalf of a student who is in need of prayer. And there are about 6 or 7 different categories. It could be a medical situation, it could be a mental health situation, financial, family issues, all those things. And so again, the student can reach out for themselves, our professor can reach out for them. And from there, every request that we get, we actually pray for those requests. But then we actually will reach out to the student with a personal email or a phone call if it warrants. We've had students that have deaths in the family, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, a sibling, we'll reach out and just pray with that student. The goal is, obviously, when you look at it from a strategic standpoint, from an accreditation standpoint, you want to give the online students a similar experience to a residential student. But I think the way that we see it as a staff, speaking pastorally, it's not to check a box, it's to show the love of Christ. And so we've had the opportunity to walk through some really difficult situations with students. We've had the opportunity to walk through with some really exciting situations with students. But again, the goal is just to be the hands and feet of Jesus for our online community.
That's great.
Yeah, that is great. So you mentioned how you came to Liberty, but obviously this is a new department and role for you. So talk about what sort of process did the Lord walk you through in, wanting to get this new department, and how did the whole, the LU Pastoral Counseling and Care, how did that come about?
So I mentioned I was a part of the campus pastor's office, and that kind of morphed into what became LU Shepherd. And it wasn't exactly the same. There were some differences there. So as campus pastors, we met with students one-on-one. And in the course of a semester, I might meet with 50 to 75 students. the goal in the LU Shepherd office was to become more out and about, to become more proactive than reactive, because a lot of what we were dealing with as a campus pastor's office was reacting to situations. When we became the LU Shepherd office, we actually had student leadership, resident shepherds, and community group leaders under us. And so now we had over 1,000 students who are our boots on the ground in the dorms. And so I went from having an opportunity to talk to 50 to 75 students a semester to talking to 1,000 student leaders who in turn were able to be our hands and feet on the ground in the dorms. And so that really enlarged our footprint. But again, to be honest, a lot of what that the Shepherd office does, there are LU shepherds who have a segment of student leaders under each of them. And again, they pour into those students, and those students pour into the students on the hall. Well, whereas we wanted to be proactive, there was still those situations where we did have to react. And so largely within the Shepherd office, I was still a part of the reactionary team. I was still a part of the triage team. If there was a student that had a loss in their family, if there was a student that had a benevolence need or what have you. So we've been embedded in the Shepherd office for the last 9 years or so, doing what we will now do as a separate office. And I'm looking forward to that because it does give us a footprint, a bigger footprint. It gives us a brick and mortar space of our own. And whereas the students have been able to get to us, it allows them to get to us without going through to get to. They can come directly to us. And so we're really excited about being able to advertise ourselves to say we are here for both our residential and, in this case, as we're talking today about our online students. Again, for the online students, it doesn't change what we've been doing, but hopefully it allows them to get to us in a much more in an easier fashion.
Can you talk about some of the resources that your team provides? Like, I know we've kind of talked a little bit about like prayer, but like what's the kind of the full gamut of what they do?
So that's a really good question, because we provide some things directly, but then we have a part of being part of some things indirectly. And so our team provides some things, as I said, directly, but we are part of the umbrella of OSD, Office of Spiritual Development. And so two of the biggest things that, if I could say, our online students could tap into from a spiritual perspective is Convocation and Campus Community. And it's interesting, we come across students, regularly who have no idea what those two things are. And, Convocation on campus is one of the largest gathering of a group of Christian students in the country, probably the largest. But our online students have access to that. Obviously, they can't see it, in person. Well, they could see it in person if they came on campus, but they can see it in real time in multiple social formats. And then there's Campus Community. And again, Convocation typically is a pastor, but it could be a business leader, it could be an athlete, what have you. But Campus Community is specifically a Bible study, and typically we'll go through a series over the course of a semester. And so I think that's, again, one of the best opportunities for our online students as far as an offering. Again, our goal and our hope with our residential students is that they're part of a local church, and our goal with our online students and our hope is that they're part of a local church. And as such, there are Wednesday night Bible studies or midweek Bible studies that happen in these local churches. But if they're not part of a local church, or if they're not part of a church that has a midweek Bible study, hey, this is an excellent opportunity to tune in to a really great series, some really great pastors. Most of them are, Josh Rutledge is our VP of OSD. Dr. Costin is our president, who is a phenomenal pastor himself. David Wheeler is an evangelism professor. So those are some of the guys that over the course of the semester we'll share with our students. But outside of that, some of the other things that we do, we will try and get a student connected with a local church. So let's just say there's a student who's reaching out to us from, I don't know, Podunk, Idaho. And I think there is a place called Podunk, Idaho. I've not been there, but let's just say there's a student reaching out like, hey, I'm looking for a church home. Well, one of the things we might try and do is connect with our Liberty family. That's cool. I mean, we've got pastors that have come through here, people everywhere. So, hey, is there a church in Podunk, Idaho that you can get me connected to, that I can get this student connected to? Because whereas we can connect with a student and provide pastoral support from a phone call or email or even with a Teams call, it's still different. Like I could reach out and I could shake your hand right now. And so it's different to have a personal touch. So if we can put students in touch with a personal touch where they are, we want to try and be that resource as well.
So you just mentioned Convocation, you mentioned Campus Community. So how would an online student connect with those? Like how would they find to connect with those?
I would say the quickest way would be to go to our website, and I'd say the quickest way to get there is just Google online pastoral care and Liberty, and you could get there. Like I said earlier, those programs are on social media. They're on Facebook, so you could search for Office of Spiritual Development on Facebook or Office of Spiritual Development on YouTube, and you would see the Campus Community or Convocation. Another way the student could just reach out to us via email, and that's LUO Pastoral Care at Liberty.edu, all one word.
Okay, great.
So one of the things that Robin and I have been a part of with Online Life is Convocation on the Road, and this is something that we've also seen you at. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that is? So it sounds very much like Convocation on campus, but around the country?
Yeah, so that's a new initiative that kicked off this summer. And as you said, I think, well, there was one in Dallas and there was one in Raleigh. Unfortunately, I did not get to make the Dallas trip, but I was in Raleigh and saw you guys there. I think that's an excellent opportunity. I mean, really, it is Convo on the road. It is exactly what you would see if you were to come to campus. And it's just an opportunity to come or go to the student's backyard. I mean, we have a large contingency of online students in Texas. We have a large contingency in North Carolina. So I believe that will continue next summer. But again, it's just an opportunity to not have to come to Lynchburg, Virginia and see Convo maybe a little closer to where you are.
Yeah, I was also at the Raleigh event, and it was really cool. There was, I mean, probably close to 1,000 people there, would you say?
Yeah.
And everybody was just so excited to kind of get together as a Liberty family and do something Liberty, like where they lived. It was a really cool time.
Yeah,
and it was great afterward to be able to interact, or before and after to be able to interact. We had a booth there, as you guys did, and just to even be able to meet some online students in person.
Yeah, there were a lot of online students there and online professors. That was super.
Oh yeah,
it was a great way to get to meet
professors, and they were really excited to be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were saying, to have that tangible, like reach out and shake a hand, with people that you may have emailed with or what have you, just to be able to see them in person.
Yeah, there was a gal who was in one of the Facebook groups I'm a part of for my degree program, and she had said, "Hey, is anyone going to be at Convo on the Road?" And I'm like, "I'll be there." And she walked up to the booth, and I looked at her, and I was like, "I met you online today." She's like, "Oh yeah," gave each other big hugs, like we've known each other forever. It was really just a great time to get to. I like it when we do those sort of things, that we're out where the students are and get to meet them. That's great. So talk about different ways that your office connects with the online students, which you've already mentioned some of those, like, you find out that there's been a death in the family, celebrations, but like what sort of things, like if somebody says, "I want to connect with your office," what would that look like?
I mean, it could look different, depends on the situation. I can think of one particular instance. There was a student who had reached out to us for prayer. He was looking to relocate. At the time, he was living in California, and he was looking for jobs actually on this coast. And as it turns out, we were able to pray for him, pray with him, and we connected. And it's interesting because this is not a one-time connection. There are students that one of our online pastoral care coordinators will connect with to pray for, and then they'll reach back out to get an update from that student. And so this is one of those cases where they reached back out to get an update, and turns out the student actually ended up getting a job in Richmond, which is 2 hours away. And so then I had connected with the student, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. Would it be possible to meet you?" And I was able to meet the student, and so that was great. So a student that went from California to Richmond to Lynchburg.
So on the website, you guys have a lot of stuff, talks a lot about prayer. Would you just kind of talk about like how focused should we be on our prayer life, or even how to just get started?
So, I mean, prayer in its purest state is talking to God. And I mean, you ask how important is it? Like, God is the creator of the universe. God is our creator and our sustainer. God has the perfect plan. And so, I mean, I feel like if you knew that there was a person that had the perfect plan, the manuscript for your life, why not talk to that person? And so, yeah, I don't think there's anything in our Christian walk that we can do that is more important than praying. Like, how do I pray? Just open your mouth and start talking. I mean, for me, one of my best places to pray is in nature. I mean, I just feel God in nature so much. And here in Lynchburg, if you've not been, there are very few places that are more amazing than going and riding and looking and seeing the Blue Ridge Parkway. And so I like to just take a ride on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and sometimes I'll go before work, sometimes I'll go after work, and just look at nature and talk to God.
Yeah, I think we had a guest on the podcast recently who said, like, listen, just like, you don't have to do this whole giant, start with like 5 or 10 minutes a day and just make that a priority. And from there you can grow into, more and more.
And I mean, even to follow up on that, the Bible says to pray without ceasing. Like, what does that look like practically? Like, I mean, throughout this broadcast, I've been praying. Like, let me say the right things, connect with the students with the answers they need. But, in any situation, in a test situation, like praying that you do well, not praying for a miracle, but, praying that God will help you recall the stuff that you studied. So, like, there's always an opportunity. You can pray out loud, but you can also pray internally. So,
well, Tim, that is great. One question we ask all of our guests on the podcast, and it's really cool to hear all the different answers that we get all across campus for this. But I'd love to hear your take on this question. And the question is, what words of encouragement do you have for online students that might be listening to this podcast today?
I would say I would go to my life verse or verses, which is Psalms chapter 37, verse 4 and 5. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And the next verse says, basically, trust in the Lord, and he will act. I think if that can be a person's like go-to. Now again, when I first started using that verse, my uncle shared that verse with me when I was probably 17, 18 years old. And at that point, I'm like thinking, delight myself in the Lord and he'll give me everything I want. Like he's the genie. But really, delight yourself in the Lord. And back to the answer I gave earlier, he has the plan. So delight yourself in the Lord. And as you delight yourself in the Lord, you connect with him and you connect with what his desire is for you. And if he gives you those desires, because he is God, he's able to fulfill those desires. And so whatever it is that God has called you to, get with him and find out what it is, and then stay with him and allow him to walk you through it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Pastor Tim, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm really hoping that this really gets the word out even more about your team, and the online students can learn more and be able to connect with you on a much higher level there. For you out there who's listening, have you been to a convo on the road? Have you interacted with Pastor Tim's team? Let us know. We would love to hear from you guys and give you a voice in the podcast. Email us at onlinestudentlife@liberty.edu. Typically, we try to pick maybe one or two each episode and maybe send a little present or gift to you. Again, we would just love to hear from you, so please reach out to us. This has been another episode of the On Life Podcast.
Living in abundance wherever God puts you.